Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just finished watching The Woman King, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood and starring Viola Davis, Lashana Lynch, and John Boyega. Now, when it comes to the transatlantic slave trade, it's an event in history that transcends good and evil, considering that people on all sides had their genuinely good ideals mixed with terrible realities that they had to conflict with when it came to one of the worst atrocities committed by humankind. But this film happens to actually mix an epic war story with some questions about who's really the good guy or bad guy in a lot of these situations. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story takes place in the early 1800s in West Africa, in the Western African kingdom of Dahomey, where they have an all-female fighting unit for the royals there, known as the Agoji. They are led by General Nanishka, played by Viola Davis, who has to get a ton of new warriors in order to serve King Gezo, played by John Boyega. When it turns out that one of their rival tribes, the Oyo tribe, has been selling people into slavery along with the Europeans, they have to try to liberate their people, but they also have to deal with the fact that the Dahomey kingdom themselves have also benefited from the trade. So, if they have to root out some of their evil from within, while they also try to save their people, along with gaining some new warriors who might have of a connection to General Naneshka than she initially thought. So yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie for its 2 hour and 17-minute runtime, and thankfully most of it does feel like it fits with the plot and it feels like it shows exactly what it needs to. Thankfully, a lot of the dialogue is very much getting to the point of the matter without too many often sidetracks, and thankfully the humor that is in the film feels like it fits naturally in and it doesn't feel like it's just forced into the film. On top of that, it was really interesting to see this part of history that isn't often portrayed on film, such as the different items that African kingdoms made for trading purposes, some of the fighting styles of African warriors that we get to see, some of their training practices, and it was really cool to see John Boyega and Viola Davis and Lashana Lynch pull off these characters that they don't usually get to play in a lot of movies. Especially considering John Boyega was extremely wasted in the Star Wars films. I'm glad he found a role he could really sink his teeth into this time. And Viola Davis, as many people have stated, is absolutely amazing here. She runs the full gambit of emotions, she's believable in the action scenes, and she really manages to dig deep for some of the movie's most dramatic moments. That's not to say that everything's perfect, though. There are about 10-15 minutes of film that I would cut in order to streamline it a bit more, and it might have a few historical inaccuracies here and there, but it's in the same fashion that Glory and Braveheart have a couple of inaccuracies. They're there if you are a real historian, but for the purposes of the film, they don't really bog down the experience that much. Otherwise, the action scenes are very well done. The cinematography captures them well while keeping it generally bloody enough for a PG-13 rating without going into straight up R. And I did appreciate that the film was able to tell the story while making sure no one was entirely in the right or entirely in the wrong. Everyone has their legitimate grievances, and everyone feels like they had some at least justifiable actions taken outside of a couple of characters. And for the most part, I think it works out pretty well. That's why The Woman King is getting an 8.5 from me. See you next time.